Good evening. As governor, I do want to focus on education. And there was something that has really been on me, and it's the third grade reading level, because they say, they being the government, they being the educational department, says that this is a pivot point grade. And if you go to irisreading.com, it's going to tell you that by the third grade, your child needs to be reading 92 words per minute. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to sit down with your kids because the weekend is here, and you need to say, hey, here's a third grade book or a fourth grade book. But definitely if you have a third grader, here's a third grade book, and I need to know if you can read 92 words per minute. Right now I'm leaning forward to go to this website because there's something else that I want you guys to understand. By the first grade, you should read about 23 words per minute by the middle of the year. By the second grade, this should have reached 72 words per minute. Then 92 words by the third grade, 112 words by the fourth grade, and 140 words by the fifth. Through middle school, reading speed progressively rises. By eighth grade, students should be reading at a rate of about 151 words per minute. This is important because somebody's scaling this out enough to get this data to you, to tell you that if you're not reading at those speeds and being able to understand and comprehend, that the things being taught to you, you're not going to pick up fast enough. Because after the third grade, there is a lot of things that must be comprehended informationally. So when you see these words, you're able to process them properly to understand what's going on. Right now, we have a reading epidemic. Because we have a reading epidemic in our society, we need to figure this out. So while we're looking at reformation, we also need to be trying to meet some of these guidelines. Again, I'm very heavy on education because one of the policies that I would like to look at is how we start to re-navigate our institutional teaching to something that's going to be economically feasible for our youth when they become, tax-paying citizens. This is very important. Now, I do know that we currently have a history problem in Florida. I am never trying to put that to the side. That is a serious issue because we are not out here trying to rewrite a history that we all know already. So that's my stance on that. We're not going to rewrite that history. That's just not going to happen. School is a form of indoctrination, so we're not going to act like it's not. It is. We are teaching certain things, but we indoctrinate, or at least I would like for us to indoctrinate critical thinking. This is how we progressively understand and teach our youth how to bring forth new ideas that are going to continue to propel us into a healthy future. So again, one of the things that I'm pressing on, I'm asking people is to go home and take out a minute with your children. Take out a minute with somebody else's kids. Take out a minute with some kids somewhere, and you find their grade level. And you find out the words per minute. Now, as an adult, we're supposed to be reading at 200 words per minute. This is as an adult. So that means 9th grade to 12th grade, put them in the 200 category. If you have a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, 12th grader, they need to be reading 200 words per minute. You can go on the internet and break that down to how many pages. Then they have to recite what they read because that focuses on their comprehension. Let's not play with this because our children not comprehending and being allowed to still pass. I went to some conventions when I was in Jacksonville to understand what was going on with our youth. During the COVID phase, somebody better start paying attention. In Florida, I know from teachers who have stated that we have passed students who would not have passed regular tests in order to proceed to these next grades. This means that over the course of our time, we have all known people to have passed and gotten out of these institutionally educated places to navigate themselves out of our K through 12th grades into society and cannot read. The No Child Left Behind is false, guys, because we leave kids behind all the time. We just visually let them pass. But we do have to really start investing in these things that are going to be the crutches of how we survive in this economy. There cannot be a few smart people. Everybody needs to be healthily smart enough to comprehend what's being told to them. Let's do our best. 200 to 250 words is what we expect from our 9th to 12th graders. And then we expect them to be able to tell you what they've just read. 9th to 12th, I don't care what book you pick. You go after them. We need to produce the best from home. If you have any children that are going to the 8th grade, you sit them down, because these statistics are being kept and they are starting to teach us that it's time to realize somebody is saying that, oh, you have X amount of people who failed this reading test. This is our dropout rate. They're putting the data together, so the data is there. You just have to go, and you don't even have to go find it. Go find out if your kid can read at some of those levels that I talked about in this video. Please, let's look at creating a more healthy educational environment, because you're gonna notice that when your child reads, if there's any apprehension for them reading in front of you, they're probably not gonna make that time frame. That's because they don't know those words. It's time for us to definitely wake up. We're gonna reform our education system. But I assure you, part of that reformation is gonna ask you to take a minute out of your time to see if somebody can read maybe 92 words per minute in a 3rd grade book that has, let's just say, 15 words per page. I mean, do the math. You might be done with the whole book, because it's a 3rd grade book. Probably ain't got more than 25 pages. So let's put them to the test. Let's put them to the test at home. Let's not send our youth back to these institutions not meeting those guidelines and continuing to produce these levels of dropout rates or even statistics. I don't know why they picked the 3rd grade, but apparently when you hit the 4th grade, you need to be comprehending pretty well. So the basics of K through 3rd grade, they're important. And again, if you can't do it, find somebody that can. Find somebody that has time and say, hey, I sat down with your child. They would not read. That's an indication. That's an indication that, hey, my child may be nervous because they don't know the words. And that means that when I get home, I need to work with them. Let's work with our youth.